Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
Good evening, our fellow lovers out there, and guess what?
But
We're back!
yay!
It's been a couple weeks.
Sorry,
It's been 2-3 weeks.
it was crazy.
We've had some strange with all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then
We had a trip to Oregon.
Yep, and then I had to work on a Saturday night one night. So that was a fun event, though. By the way, it was some fun. You should have gone, Miss Sleepyhead over here.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. It was just fun. That's all. It's not like you missed any earth-shattering news or anything. It was just a fun little lighthearted kind of thing. That's all. So
Well, I'm glad you had fun, honey.
Well, I didn't have fun. I was working, but everybody else seemed to have a good time. So we want to thank you for joining us on this Thanksgiving week here in the United States. And as always, if you want to send us your questions, comments, suggestions, or depressions, I don't know, you can send them to love@latenightLove.us, and we will discreetly talk about them on air. Of course, always, anonymity is kept. And you can find your past episodes and whatnot if you want to if you're having an insomniac night and want to sit there and listen to our sultry voices and fall asleep to that, you can do that as well. You can go to YouTube or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast things. They should be up on there. All right, so it is Thanksgiving week. We've got a few days before we all, well, at least here in the United States, even though this is a tradition that is worldwide, even though not necessarily called Thanksgiving, but it is a common occurrence, different times of the year for different cultures, different places. And, the specifics of the tradition are different, but the fundamentals of the tradition, where friends, families gather together with those you love to share your love, it's an important part of the human experience. It's why these traditions last so long. You could argue about back in the day, you did it so you could share resources, right? You came together at Thanksgiving and Christmas to kind of redistribute. Those who had extra eggs, would share it with those who had extra wheat, and they trade back and forth. And that's kind of where these traditions come from. Or in this particular one, right before the winter frozen, you go off and you have the big feast with all the stuff that's going to go bad in the next month. And so, you get rid of all that stuff, which is why you get all these things. Oh, the stuff isn't going to last much longer. So you cook it all. You come up with all these wonderfully inventive dishes to get rid of all these things. Like your fruitcakes that you get for Christmas. It's the last thing you're going to do with the fruit for the year, right? There's nothing else to do with it at this point. And so, but that's the point, right? The point of the Thanksgiving holiday was to gather and kind of redistribute those resources. And you did that with friends and family and people you cared about. And that continues. The distances between us are greater, but the meaning isn't. Luckily, we have cars and planes and trains and whatnot, and we can travel to see our families. And, we all are sad when some are traveling elsewhere this year or can't make it because of circumstances. We miss them. And so I think we're all thankful for those who can be here, for the time we can share with those who we can share with. That's what I'm thankful for. So what you got? Anything else?
I am thankful that for family, your family welcomes out any. They have a very large table, they say. In fact, it was not large enough, so your mom's husband, Lauren, built a new one, built a bigger table, and everyone fits around the Thanksgiving table, and friends are invited, and extended family, and it's a wonderful celebration.
Yeah, and we are thankful to have everybody together. And we are hopeful that you all have a peaceful, calm, and wonderful Thanksgiving. Yes. But in this episode of Late Night Love, we dive into the complexities of relationships, parenting, and work life, from navigating intimacy issues and dealing with breakups to supporting a partner through trauma. And wow, this is like I wrote it. That is a run-on sentence. Okay. I didn't know that I had run-on sentence issues. I now know what it's like to read my writing. I'd have thought I wrote that one. Wow.
Maybe it checked out your writing.
Apparently it does. We cover it all. Tune in for heartfelt advice, real life stories, and practical tips to get you through life's toughest moments. That was a sentence, for the love of.
No pause.
Yeah, no. It's like I had written it. What the heck? I'm one of those people who writes every sentence comes with extra thoughts, right? So it never ends. And so, yeah. So that's how that goes. And if you're listening to us on KUBU 96.5 FM, remember you can go to accesssacramento.org and hit that little donate button and help keep KUBU alive for the communities that it serves. Okay. We're going to start with relationship questions. And I did not even look at any of these. I copied and pasted in here. So I'm hoping I did add a couple, but I didn't read anything.
All right.
So let's see what we've got.
Okay. I don't want to have relations with my boyfriend anymore. How can I explain this to him? Pregnancy scare.
So she had a pregnancy scare, and now she's afraid of having sex because she doesn't want to go through that emotional trauma again. Yeah. Well, you know how you bring it up with him? You talk with him about it and work through your issues, and you take your better precautions.
You could be the everything but girl. Do everything but vaginal intercourse.
Well, or, there's plenty of ways these days to mitigate the chances of pregnancy by quite a bit. There's a wide variety of options. You can even use more than one if you want to be really secure. This is one of those things where, this is a bad analogy at the time, but throwing the baby out with the bathwater on this one. There's other things. I get the scare, right? I can get it. She's 23. She doesn't feel ready, and all of a sudden, she got smashed in the face with the realities of adult living.
Yes.
Yeah, and it scared the little bejeebers out of her. Okay, that I can get. That's a perfectly human thing, and an overreaction is a perfectly logical thing, right? Screw that. I'm not taking any dang chances. Okay, but that decision comes with consequences because, when you're young in your 20s, that is how you feel close to somebody else. You don't have the experience to know how to feel close to somebody else in other ways. You just don't. And so you're going to lose that closeness you have with your partner. Forget him for a moment. You just will. So, be prepared for that as well. Because you are actually separating yourself from your partner in a way that neither one of you are actually prepared for. You don't have the experience for it. Older people can deal with this because you've been there, done that. You understand the ins and outs of relationships and those kinds of things. And health becomes a bigger, things hurt when you're older and whatnot. And, things make more sense. I'm just saying, don't let a pregnancy scare, lead to an overreaction. That I get saying, I want to be more careful from the point on. Great. Right.
Yeah.
But, acting out of fear. People very, very rarely make good choices when they're acting out of fear. So have a discussion about your fears and see where that goes.
Yeah. Try that first.
Yeah. You may be surprised that you find out that maybe you're more ready for a child than you thought. Maybe that's what scared you. Just saying. Okay, what's next?
I broke up with my boyfriend of 10 years today because he didn't get me anything for my birthday. How can we talk about this?
It seems to me like somebody you put the cart before the horse on this one.
You broke up with him.
And now you want to talk about, you should have had the discussion before that. You did this in the reverse order. Your wrong order is here. It's, maybe there's reasons he didn't buy you anything. These are difficult economic times. And so maybe there's no money, and you should be more loving and caring about not wanting someone to go into debt to get you a trinket. These are called the realities of life. Now, maybe he forgot or has other priorities. That's a different thing. But you can't find those out unless you talk to him first. Maybe he had a plan. Maybe you screwed it up because your gift was coming in 10 days on a trip to somewhere. Right? You don't know. And he was trying to be coy and playful because you've always accepted it in the past. He figures you would. And for whatever reason, this birthday was more important to you than others. Maybe it's been a difficult year. Who knows? And and you overreacted. It seems to be overreaction day.
Well, the holidays are coming.
Yeah, it's a stressful time. I get it. But this is what you should have talked beforehand, because you may have blown the thing on this one. Though she's 27, he's 34. You know what? It may not be the worst thing to have happened anyway.
Yeah.
So, it may be an overreaction, but it may not necessarily be unwarranted. Just because of, you've been with a single person essentially your whole adult life. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, but, you don't know how the real world works yet in terms of relationships. You've only had one. So, I don't know. How can you talk about it? You should have already talked about it and then decided to break up. But my guess is it's not really over the birthday.
And my guess is has this happened before?
Yeah. Well, is it a character thing? Is he slightly autistic and just forgets days?
No, where she puts the cart before the horse.
Yes. Oh, her. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, maybe she's overreactive, over emotional.
Did she give him enough hints? Did she declare a birthday month?
Oh, for the love of God, don't give hints. Men don't take hints. We don't see them.
My birthday is coming. I want a present.
If it's really important to you, you're gonna have to do that. Yes, you are.
Flowers would be nice.
And some of us are, we get lost in time, and next thing you know, it's, oh crap, it's the day before your birthday or something. And it's not that we deliberately forgot. It's just time snuck up on us. It happens. Life is busy, and next thing you know, oh, that's today. Shoot, that's Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. Oh crap! It happens. It really does. So, if you love them, you give them a little break. They'll make it up to you because they'll feel bad. But it does happen. So, I don't know. I do get the feeling she's overreacted, but I also get the feeling it's probably the right reaction in the long run. So just instinct tell me, just from the data I have, she's young, he's mid-30s at this point, and she's mid-20s. There's a gap. And so my guess is the relationship's on its last legs. Anyway,
it's run its course.
And she knows that. That's why she overreacted. And now, I
see what you're saying.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
I have a note of my husband for giving his number to a girl at the gym and helping her with her form. What can she do? She's annoyed.
Yeah. So
go to the gym.
If it really annoys you. But look, in places like gyms and things, it's very difficult to find somebody who's willing to help. And your husband. Your husband's willing to help people because it's not the only time he does it. You're just annoyed because it's a fit woman. If it was Bob, who was first time going to the gym and had a beer belly, you wouldn't mind. But you got some workout bunny, and most men are oblivious to these type of things, right? And
yes, I got one.
So, he's just helping somebody who needs some help.
It's all he sees.
So, and it's probably all that there really is. Let's be honest. How many women would like to be able to go to a gym and find somebody who's really only interested in helping her at the gym?
And who is taken, who's married.
Yeah.
Sorry, off limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly happy in his marriage, but he's perfectly happy to help you too. Because he's secure enough in his marriage that he can do that. So,
That's kudos to you, lady.
Yeah. Now, if you're uncomfortable, have the discussion with your husband, but not an accusatory thing. Put it on you. Look, I'm feeling this way because I'm not as good of a human being as I would like to be. And he'll hug you and kiss you and reassure you. This is exactly what you need.
Yes.
Yeah, but don't approach it from any position other than this is my problem and you're my husband. Can you help me with my problem? And he'll hug you and reassure you and do all those things that you know he will, because he seems to be the kind of guy who will do that. So, or you've got a leech and you know it, and that's why you're worried. But I somehow think it's the other one. Just because it seems like she's worried about this is my problem. Yeah. It seems like she's struggling with it as her problem, not she's necessarily worried. She's just, I'm annoyed. She's a little jealous,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who knows? Maybe you guys can go to the gym together, and who knows?
And you can meet her, and you can see she's perfectly harmless.
Yeah. Yeah, or she's a drop-dead gorgeous bunny, and it makes it worse.
Well, she probably is, but she's a girl.
Yeah, well.
She's just a girl, and your husband is married.
She's just another human being who's needing help to not hurt herself while she's learning to work out. Right? That's the fundamental issue there. So.
There you go.
Okay, what's next?
My final divorce hearing is approaching. My ex is begging to fix things after almost 2 years, but I'm nearly 6 months into a new relationship. What do I do?
You do nothing. You finish the divorce. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. You've already moved on.
And there are reasons you moved on.
Yeah.
You apparently have forgotten them.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes men are not the ones who wanted to do the leaving. And so now she's feeling regretful, but what's going to happen is unless she has exceedingly worked on herself to become a different human being than she was before, then it's not going to work. And if she had worked on herself to become a different human being, she would be ready to move on too. So none of those things have happened. So that at best, even if you worked back on your marriage, you got back together, at best in 2 years, you'll be right back where you were. Because you're not coming from it from a place of strength. Finish your divorce. Honor the time you had together, right? Don't disparage it. You honor it. It clearly wasn't all bad, if you're even considering.
Yeah. Clearly, you had some good times.
Yeah, there was clearly, but it's time to move on. And
it just run its course.
Yeah.
Here again.
Yeah. And yes, the divorce is the process of it can uncover old wounds, but
it really does.
But you know what? They heal.
Yeah,
and they heal even faster. So just move on. And good luck. Okay,
my girlfriend made an ultimatum. Either I get her name tatted or we break up. What can I do?
You break up. That's an easy one. Anybody who doesn't respect your body is not worth your time. It doesn't matter the gender, age, anything. If you don't want to get tattoos, especially the tattoos of somebody's name, remember, these are 18 and 19, let's be clear, then they don't respect you enough. And in this particular case, it's an 18-year-old female demanding a 19-year-old man get her name tattooed. What would we think if it was the other way around?
Ooh.
Exactly. So no, If that kind of an ultimatum, you're not going to get away from it. It's time to move on. She doesn't respect you.
Mhm.
She doesn't respect your body.
Mhm.
So it's time to move on. You can do better. Okay. What's next?
What can I do to better support my wife after she was assaulted by my cousin? And how do I got my family to realize how bad the situation is?
Well,
He put his hands on her.
yeah. Well, one, you don't have to get your family to realize the situation. That's not your job. Your job right now is to support your wife, and you deal with it how your wife wants to deal with it. She wants to get law enforcement involved, then you get law enforcement involved, right? Yeah. You just kind of support her in her decisions to how she wants to navigate this. And that's your job in this one. You only fix it if she asks you to.
Yeah.
And then you do exactly what she asks you to. Hey, it may mean getting out the shovels and a trip to Home Depot. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're always best to deal with these things through the most legal means possible. So I would do that and support her through that thing. And that will, at the same time, let your family realize how bad the situation is.
Yeah.
So, the high road, you can see everything from the high road. So try to take it as often as possible is my suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just be there for your wife. Your wife is more important than your family at this point. And as long as she realizes that, we'll both be fine in the long run. Okay. What's next?
I'm going to break up with my girlfriend of 9 months because of a lie she told me. How do I go about this without hurting her?
That's not possible. So you just go about it. You don't go out with malice, right? But it's not possible to not hurt somebody in a situation like this. You don't have to do it with malice, right? You just have to do it. It's like filling a cavity. There's no way to do it without there being some pain. It's just going to happen. So you just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
As carefully as you can, but you still just have to do it. It's just the way life is like that sometimes, homie. And the question is, you're not hurting her; she hurt you, and that's why the relationship is ending.
Yeah.
Now, depending upon the lie, maybe you're overreacting again. Maybe it is overreaction.
It's overreaction week.
Overreaction week. But maybe not.
Maybe not. You could talk to her about it, maybe.
And you don't know, everybody brings their own traumas, right? And so you don't know what trauma he has, and you don't know what trauma she has. They're both 30, right? So they've gone through some trauma at this point of their life. And you don't ever know what caused what. And so a discussion may be in order before a decision, but we don't know how fundamental the lie was.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Did she lie because saying she was a vegan and she's not? And then, I don't know.
Did you cheat? I mean, what?
What's the act? Because maybe your perspective is off, and it's not such of a big deal considered under circumstances. Maybe she's had trauma and been rejected a lot in her life, and this thing was it was an instinct. It happens, right? And you can work through those.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could have been something more serious, like she was sleeping with his best friend and didn't tell him or something. So who knows?
Mm.
All right. We're on to some parenting questions. What do we got?
My postpartum depression is crippling. Will I ever feel normal again? Yes, you will.
Well, yes, but we got to understand something. You're never going to feel like you did before. And that's actually not a bad thing.
Because you're a mom now.
You're a vastly different human being. when you get through your postpartum depression, guess what? You're going to be a much stronger, much more capable human being. You're not going to be the same person. So your normal will be new. So you're not going to know what it is when you find it. It's going to feel abnormal because, you're going to be a new you. And so that's postpartum depression is a difficult thing because you're going through all kinds of hormone changes. You've got a baby to take care of. You got all kinds of stresses, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's her first one.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes postpartum depression can hit on your second or third child. And it's the stress. A lot of the times it's the stress along with the hormonal changes, the drastic hormonal changes. It's like flipping a hormonal switch. At the same time, you're under all kinds of stress. So, very first thing you do is to cut yourself some slack. It's okay. Just think about everything you've gone through in the last year, all the changes you've gone through in the last year. It's okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to be exhausted. It's okay. The question is, what do you do from here? Right? You do the best you can every day. And eventually it gets better. That's all. There's no secret to it. I'm sorry. I wish I had an easier solution, but I don't. Because the only real solution is to just do the best you can on every given day and take those wins.
Yes.
Take them. Honor them. Do a lap of the house and the victory dance. I don't care. Take those wins because they pile on top of each other, just like everything else does. So, all right. What's next?
Okay. Should a 12-and-a-half-year-old clean her own room?
Well, of course you should. But this is the age-old question. Right? Yes, they should clean their own room. The question is, do they clean their own room? And, well, half of them don't. So, yeah, this is a fight parents and children have been having since children have had their own rooms, quite frankly. And probably before that, if I were to take a guess. So, yes, the answer is 12-and-a-half-year-olds should clean their own rooms. But here's one of the things we forget. Sometimes they need to be reminded how. You say, what do you mean? They've been picking up after themselves with year 2. Yeah, but they're not 2 anymore. They're not 8 anymore. They need to be retrained. They're children. They need to be constantly retrained. So if you want to teach them how to clean the room, you're going to have to teach them how to clean the room. Oftentimes, the reason they don't clean the room is because they don't really know how.
And they stand there and they look around and they go, oh, my God.
Yeah, they don't really know how. They don't know how to pick a corner and start, depending upon the level of disaster the room is, right? They don't know how to
make the bed and start piling shit on top of it.
Yeah. You don't know that it doesn't matter what method you choose. Just choose a method.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Throw it all in the closet and then work on cleaning the closet. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Just pick a method. And so you've got to help them with that. And you've got to, instead of punishing them for not doing it, you reward them for doing it. Is the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, you keep your room clean for 6 months. I'll buy you the Xbox for Christmas. All right. All right. And I'm not even going to be overly stringent about it. Right. And I'll give you the skills to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to throw you to the wolves. I'm going to give you the skills. And I'm not even going to be overly stringent because I know you're a teenager. It's expectations. So I just want to be able to walk in without stepping on Legos. That's all I want to be able to do. I want to be able to walk in without breaking things. How's that?
There you go.
Okay, what's next?
Voting in class for president. What would you do? This was before the election.
That's a Freudian slip there. Voting in class, I never took these type of things seriously because they're not serious. So my suggestion is to don't take them serious. But people who would write this are more teenagers and college students, right?
It's teenagers.
So you're in high school and you've got peer pressures to deal with. And I don't know how secret your ballots are and the politicalized nature of your class and schools and blah, blah, blah. So there's a couple ways to go. You can just vote like someone is going to know who's on your ballot. And so you kind of go to what's expected. You can vote your conscience and just vote whoever you would kind of vote for anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could vote the troll and just vote who you think is going to piss off the person who's going to read it the most. Well, because it doesn't actually matter, right? It doesn't actually matter in terms of the lesson isn't necessarily who you're voting for. The lesson is the process. So the end result is irrelevant in a class vote, right? It's the process that they're trying to get you to understand. So in that percent, once you get to the final thing, it's irrelevant who you write down. Yeah, it's not going to matter anyway. No one's counting it but your class. So you can write Donald Duck and walk away.
So there.
Hey, some of us, there was any place I could this election, to tell you how disastrous this election was, I wrote my own name in. Any place I was allowed to write my name in, to do a write-in vote, I wrote myself in. I didn't want to vote for anybody. There was literally nobody on my ballot I really wanted to vote for. So I wrote myself in a lot. It happens. You're allowed. So
Of course you're allowed.
Yeah, that's my version of trolling, right? It's you know why? Because it's going to make those people have to go and count it by hand. So now everybody's going to have to go read my name like 3-4 times. So yeah, it doesn't stop. When I said, you write in whatever name's going to piss people off the most, that's essentially what I just did. So it happens in real life too, by the way. So, all right, what's next?
Peppa Pig is a selfish, entitled little bee.
A pig. We'll call it a pig.
Peppa Pig.
Peppa Pig is a selfish. Yes. Well, if you overly oh man, I can't believe we're getting into this. If you overly examine any kid's cartoon, you can come off with all kinds of narcissistic little monsters that these things are. Right. So so here's my here's my suggestion. Don't think about it that hard. Just enjoy it for the nice, lighthearted little cartoon that your child is going to see it for. Your child isn't going to see that in it. They're just going to see the lighthearted, superficial cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's all your child is going to see. That other stuff is to keep people like you interested, so you don't driving yourself up the wall having to watch this stuff. So understand that's what it's there for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so don't think about it too hard. Is my suggestion.
There you go.
Yeah. Just won't. Okay. What's next?
7-week-old won't stop screaming.
Oh, colicky baby is what we used to call that. These days, you go to your doctor and you find out the actual problem, whether it's a hiatal hernia or something of that nature. You figure it out. Because normally, what we used to call colicky baby, it means that the baby's uncomfortable for some reason, and they're trying to tell you, and we don't understand it because we don't speak baby. So it just means they're uncomfortable some way, somehow. And so you've got to, sometimes it can be a hernia. There's all kinds of things it can theoretically be that are difficult to find. So you go to your doctor and you try to figure it out. That's the suggestion. But find the things that, calm your baby down. Car rides often do it. Sitting on the dryer. These days that would be awfully expensive. The car seat, and if there's a position that makes them comfortable, find that out, because there's a clue there, the positions that make them comfortable versus that don't. So, and they'll likely grow out of it. Whatever the issue is will heal itself, but they shouldn't have to deal with that in the modern world.
Yeah.
100 years ago, we had no choice, right? You just kind of had to figure out a way to deal with it. But in the modern world, you can usually figure these things out. Okay, what's next?
My toddler constantly asks for a new baby. What do I say?
You just be honest. Look, there's no reason to not be honest with a toddler, right? You just tell them no.
Not right now.
Yeah, you just tell them no. They don't need a big explanation because they're 2. They're not going to remember it anyway. So just tell them no. I know for 20 years, people have been afraid to tell their children no. And let me tell you, that is a mistake. Children need to learn what no means and how to deal with it, because you get told no a lot in life. Sometimes you have to tell yourself no a lot in life. And if you don't know how to accept no from other people, you're not going to know how to accept no from yourself. And we see that all in the world today. A lot of people who are raised without knowing what no means. So, just saying, it's perfectly fine to be honest with your toddler. Are you going to hurt their feelings? Are they going to scream? Probably. But remember, they'll scream over everything. So don't worry about it so much. At some point, they learn that as a tactic to get what they want. Right? Yeah. A lot of people call it a manipulation tactic. They're not smart enough. It's at that age. They know what works.
Yeah, that's all they know.
That's all they know. It's not. They're not thinking past the part that, well, this has worked before, so I'm going to try it again. That's it. That's all they know. So, yeah, just tell them no. Don't explain it, because they're 2. They're not going to understand. So that's why they look at you like you're crazy when you try to explain it. So just tell them no. Okay.
My grandson asked my daughter, "Is the new baby over at the neighbors? Is that where you're keeping it?"
Sure.
It's where my sister is. Yeah. Okay. Son has controlling girlfriend, 19. They're both 19.
Yeah. And does your son need to be controlled? See, there's a couple things on this, right? Mothers don't like their son's girlfriends, right? It's kind of an instinctive thing for whatever reason. And so what you call controlling, some of us might call forcing him to mature, and he's willingly going along. Or she could be a controlling freak, right? We don't know. There's not enough data for us to say which way it is.
Okay. Yeah.
But some young men often need a partner that helps them mature, helps them figure out priorities, right? Because at 19, you don't have any priorities, right? As a 19-year-old man, you can be drafted to go die. And so you kind of live with that mindset until you have something to change it. And that something is often a partner. Someone, for whatever reason, you care more about than yourself. And you're willing to change yourself for it. But that takes time and effort, and someone who's patient enough to deal with the process. So maybe your son needs a little bit of controlling. Because tell you, most of us young men at 19 did. We needed some controlling. We needed something to keep us in the, between the guardrails. That's why a lot of us were sent to sports. So you learn that through your coaches, and you have coaches that teach that, to literally drill that into you. That's why they call them drills. They're drilling that. They're drilling discipline and thoughtfulness and thinking ahead and all those things. So that could be what's happening. Or she could be an overly controlling thing, and your son's in for a heartbreak. That's part of life too. Either way, he's going to learn something out of this. So,
Yes, he will.
yeah. And if it's overly bad, you have a discussion with him. But if it's within boundaries, you just have to live with it. Okay, what's next?
We have work questions.
All right. Oh, fun. Okay.
My employee has begun setting his or her phone to a personal mode during his or her lunch break. I do not find this acceptable. Should I fire them?
Gee, I wonder why they started putting it on personal mode during their lunch break.
Because you bug them.
Yeah. No,
Leave them alone during lunch.
yeah.
That's their hour downtime.
Hour, half hour, whatever it is. I'm not even guessing they're getting an hour. My guess is they're getting a half an hour. And yeah, they're going to turn their phone off because you know why? They're not working. Deal with it. I mean, look, there are a handful of jobs that need to be, you always need to be able to be gotten a hold of, right? You don't really always, you're always kind of on call, even when you're not. But that's not most of us. It's not most people. Most people you can wait a half an hour until he gets back from lunch. So leave them the freak alone. You're what's called a bad boss. And you don't even realize it. You know, your abuse of his phone, of his lunch hour is why you've got this kind of lack of commitment. And trust me, you have more than one employee who's looking for an exit right now.
Yeah.
So maybe you should change your attitude a little bit. If you want loyalty, you have to give it. Okay, what's next?
Coworker took video of my feet without permission.
Oh, Dad, just go to HR if it's a big enough company. And if it's not, you go to the owner and you deal with it like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, just that's an easy one. I mean, it is just feet, but still, you know that.
Not okay.
Yeah, because it's not just feet. You know what I mean?
No, it's not just about feet.
Yeah. If someone, no one cares if they get pictures of your feet, but they just don't want it's feet without just being feet. And so I'll send them pictures of mine. How's that? And that'll teach them. Okay.
New hire thinks packing material is dangerous because it's not from America.
Yeah. Tell them to deal with it and just move on. There's nothing to worry about there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll self-sort or not. So I wouldn't worry so much about it. Say, okay. Thank you for your input. And move on.
Get back to work.
Yeah. Get back to work.
Yeah.
And don't fall in it. Don't eat it. That's what you tell them. No, you cannot tell them not to eat it. Though that's what I would love to say. But yeah. There's nothing dangerous about your packing material. Well, unless there is some packing material, I suppose, depending upon what you're packing, that could be, it could not be as secure as it wants to be. But my guess is you're talking about peanuts and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they're supposed to be recyclable, and they're probably not if they're made in certain areas. So if that's really what they're talking about, then okay, I would understand. Because some of those recyclable peanuts, if they're made in, shall we say, questionable areas, then they may not be as recyclable as you say. And if you're if you're heavy on the environmental concerns, that you would deem that as unsafe. If I were to be as generous as I could possibly think. So, that's, but short of that, and even that's kind of pushing it. You can see someone maybe mentioning it as a kind of a passing thing. These peanuts that come from this part of the world are notorious for not being actually environmentally friendly. That's a different thing than these things are unsafe because they're not made in the U.S. It's yeah, I get it. If your cardboard box isn't made in the USA, what's it going to catch on fire faster? Well, then don't light it on fire. There's some of these things. It may be Okay, now from an HR perspective, this may mean that this particular hire is going to be a royal pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could just have someone who's got an opinion and talks but does his job and no one cares. And that's just Bob saying Bob things. Yeah, he's a little weird, but he gets the job done. No one cares. I've seen plenty of those, Yeah. We just don't listen to him. It's fine. He's always got something to say. So there's no universal thing you can cut out of this, but I wouldn't worry so much about it. They're like flat earthers. They're harmless. Stupid, but harmless. Okay, what's next?
Is it better to quit or get fired?
Neither. If you want, whatchamacallit, unemployment, you're gonna have to get fired. Right? And that's just kind of how that works. Theoretically, in the old days, you didn't want to get fired on your resume, and so you would quit. But in the modern world, they're not allowed to really do anything but to say anything negative about a past employee. They can only really kind of confirm that you work there.
That's it.
Which is, of course, the trick. Because if they're a bad employee, all they tell you is that, yes, we worked there. If they're a good employee, you say, yeah, they were great. They worked here for me. So it's kind of a code without a code. But it's not such a big deal anymore. Because I got fired because those guys are morons and I wouldn't do what they asked me to because it was illegal, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you never talk bad about your past job to your future jobs. So this is one of those things where if you want the unemployment, you get yourself, you wait for the fired or the unemployment thing. If it's a moral stand and you're not worried about replacing the job, then you quit.
Yeah.
Because that's the right thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not one or the other. All right, what is that? What's next?
Hate my job. What to do?
Well, okay, the long-term solution is to find a different job that you don't hate so much. That may take some preparing, right? You may need to get educated. You may need to get some training. You may need to get some practical unpaid experience so you've got proof that you can do the tasks that are required to do your jobs. In the short term, you can change your attitude towards the job. Towards the job. You may hate the task that your job requires you to do. It may be boring, mundane, right? But find the why. Why do these tasks need to be done? They're important for some reason. They serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Find the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's no longer about the tasks you're doing. It's about the purpose that you're serving. Mm-hmm. And no, it's not going to change the nature of your job, but it can change your perspective on it until you can find your path completely out. Find why you're there. Now, you shouldn't have to find why you're there. That's theoretically your manager's job to make sure you understand why you're there. And so you're motivated to show up every day and do a good job. But, a lot of people don't get that, right? A lot of managers don't get the training. They don't know that that's their job. They're not told. They're not trained for it. Mm. So you're going to have to do it. Mm. So the short term is change your perspective. Find out why you're doing your job, why you're doing the tasks. Change your mental attitude a bit. And even if you don't like your job, it doesn't have to make you miserable. You can still be happy in everything else you do. Yeah, the job stinks, but after work you get to go play darts with the boys. You get to go off and do theater with your friends. You get to go make music. Whatever it is you do, you get to go home and play video games. Whatever it is you do, focus on those things.
Yeah.
No, and this 9 hours of suckage allows you to do that until you can get out of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So just try to reframe it. Because your job isn't going to change. So you're going to have to change. Okay. What's next?
How do I act crazy at work? He wants to act crazy so they will distance from him. He doesn't want people asking him questions and being social.
Oh, well, you don't have to be crazy. You don't have to act crazy. Just you give responses like the person who is asking them is a police officer. Short yes or no questions until you know what you're being accused of. That's how you respond to every interaction, every social interaction. Yes, no, yes, no. Right? The shortest, cleanest answer you can give. No one will want to talk to you because you'll be boring. So that's how you solve that problem. You don't have to be crazy because that'll go on with you. You don't want that. You just want to be boring. So no one wants to talk to you. You're not crazy, just boring. Yeah. So pretend you're talking to the police. Solves it every time. You think I'm kidding? That's exactly what you do. If you don't want people to talk to you, you don't be grumpy because it becomes an HR thing, right? You can't be crazy because then it's an HR thing. You get fired, and you become the person that's removable in times of stress. No. You just give short yes or no answers until you know what you're being accused of. That's no one will want to talk to you because it's a pain and you're boring. So, and you get to be the high road. So always take the high road. Okay, what's next?
How do I survive at work as a young woman targeted by catty older women colleagues?
Okay. I don't know.
That's a perspective, young lady, that, maybe if you actually talked to these older women and maybe asked them for advice, on something, even, pray tell, they might actually have something be nice to talk to.
Good, but what if they are actually catty older women colleagues who are threatened by her competence and youthful appearance?
I'll give it a rest.
Well, I've seen it. I'm not saying I don't know how often it happens, but I have seen it. I haven't seen it everywhere, but I have seen it.
I'll tell you, I worked as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You got the young people coming up all the time.
I'm just saying, if you think that
they deserve to have a job too.
I get it, but I'm just saying that the stuff that men talk about and men treat each other in the warehouse, treat each other far better in the warehouse than y'all treat each other in the offices. And we treat each other like crap. But we all know it. It's all right in the surface. Never so much backbiting and fighting and gossiping, and good Lord, those are awful.
I wouldn't participate in gossiping. I'm sorry.
All that kind of stuff. It was terrible.
Because I didn't have time. I was working.
Hey, man, I don't know how I don't know how y'all find the time either, but I'm just saying I have seen what this young woman is talking about. And how do you survive at it? There's two ways. One, you just be competent and you don't have to worry about it. You just let it go, right? So they're chomping in your dust, and what do you care? That's the easiest way to deal with it, right? Just be competent, and then it's nothing. They're meaningless, right? They're exposed for what they are. That's the high road. It's a beautiful place up there. That's my suggestion to take it. The other way I have seen it work is you actually play the game. Not that I would suggest doing it, but then you're led into their circle and you become one of them. It's the only two ways it works. Suggest the competent route because it puts you way above the fray. And the fray doesn't bother you because you're just so far above it that it's irrelevant. So that's my suggestion. Put your nose down, put your boots on,
whatever metaphor.
Yeah. I love mixing metaphors. So
Okay.
All right. Well, that's last. What we got?
Have you worked for a micromanager? Oh yes. Oh man.
Well, here's the problem with micromanagers. They're often micromanagers because they're where they're at because they're competent, and no one ever bothered to teach them that their job is no longer to do the job. Your job is to manage people, and those people generally aren't good at managing people because they're very good at detail work. They're not very good at human work. And that's a misplaced, where someone's traits are misplaced to their job. If you're a micromanager, you shouldn't be managing people. People aren't pawns. You give them tasks. You give them, a framework to work in, and then you let them be. That's how you manage people. And you check in to see if they need help.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you manage people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the micromanager. Micromanagers manage systems and things, not people. You let them manage micros and things. You put them in charge of databases and processes. You let them go, do your thing. Great as accountants and whatnot, right? But they can't manage people. So they've been mismatched. And so what do you do about it? Well, if you're competent and they trust you, you can actually just tell them. This has worked for me in the past. I'm going to do, literally, you dang well know that I'm going to do this stuff. Do what you need, do what you want. Why are you all over my shoulder? And they won't realize, and what happens is they don't realize they've done it. They're just running on what they always do. And they will eventually, it won't happen overnight, but they'll eventually start to change. But you have to be competent enough where you can actually come to them and say, listen, you understand, you know this. You and I both know that you don't need to do this. You don't need to watch my every move. So why are you? And most of the time they don't know they're doing it. But the only person who can go out and say that to them is someone who they trust. If you're not someone they trust, right? Yeah, I'll do it because I don't trust you. That's the response. So if they trust you, you can go up to them and you can actually point this out, that they're being unrealistic or overbearing. So that's how you deal with it. But yeah, it's someone who's like that gets put in the wrong position. It's not good for him. It's not good for you because they're overstressed, right? Because they're trying to micromanage stuff it's the wrong technique to do what they're trying to accomplish, and so they're overly stressed because they're having to work 10 times as hard as they should.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not good for anybody.
No.
All right. What do we have next?
We have intimacy questions.
Okay. That's all right. Let's see what we got here.
Wife says I can have her when I want.
Oh, these things are always, it's not exactly what she means.
No, she's going for the consensual, non-consensual. Even if I don't actually feel like it, I'm going to do it for you anyway.
Yes, and you appreciate that, but if she's not in the mood, you still don't. Now, that's the second end of that. It's also one of those things that, hey, if you want to wake somebody up, and go ahead and you've got the freedom to go ahead and try, right? and these days, actually mentioning that type of thing is important, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I don't mind you trying to wake me up. I may, but it's okay. So that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the freedom to initiate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the question is, you have to respect that, but she still has the freedom to decline. Because that's how relationships work. She's giving you the ability to initiate whenever you wish. You have to respect that and be judicious when you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be selfish.
Don't be selfish.
She's trusting you. Don't break that trust. Okay, what's next?
My friend asked me for a sexual favor. Is it a good idea?
Well, depending upon circumstances, generally no, but there are some circumstances where those are. It's a little more than a hint. She's right. She's frustrated. You haven't taken all of her other hints, so she's throwing the last. This moron can't take a hint. So fine, I'm gonna right. That's the only kind of time where it might be appropriate. So you may want to go back and think how many hints maybe you've missed. Consider that. Other than that, if she's needs money for rent or something, then you lend her money for rent.
Sexual favor.
Yes, I know what she meant. But if there's a favor, it's right. I mean, she either wants something or a relationship, right? If she needs money for rent, then you just lend her money for rent, right? You respect the friendship, not the favor, right? So it really depends on the nature of the request. If she's been sending you hints and you haven't caught on, now she's smacking you with a sign. That's a different thing than, hey, I need money to pay my rent or pay my car note, and I'm willing to provide you a favor to do that. In that particular case, you just lend her the money. And why did you just ask me for the money, stupid? You know, I was afraid you'd say no. Well, but my guess is it's the other way around. He's been ignoring signs, and so now she got brave. Why did she just
sex at work? Yeah.
Yeah, but stop hints. That's the thing. You'd rather go off and that is easier than saying, hey, I'm interested in a relationship with you.
Do you remember what I did? I actually put my hands on your shoulders and said, I think I'm falling in love with you.
Yeah. And?
Yeah. I was clear. I was concise.
See? Because I don't take hits. I don't. Well, okay, I don't see them is the problem. But I don't take them. I'd have to notice it first in order to take it or reject it, right? You have to notice a hint before you can reject it. Okay, what's next? We'll just move on from that one. No, it's not a good idea is the generic answer. How's that? Okay, what's next?
I started having sex and now I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, now she's 25.
Well, yeah, that's generally what happens, just like anything new, right?
Yeah.
It's just something new, and you've got yourself bottled up a little bit. So, yeah, that's not unusual. Okay, and just like any of these things, it's not what you think about; it's what you do. So, all things in moderation. Don't do anything stupid, and you'll be all right. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Girlfriend says she can tell I'm too experienced.
Well, my question was, how can she tell? She's going to have to be pretty experienced to be able to tell if somebody's too experienced.
I would say so.
This is just.
Hey, hold on there, just a doggone minute.
Yeah, the logic on this one, move on to someone who's more mature is my guess.
Yeah,
that's just. Yeah, that's always going to be a fight. Don't just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Why the hell am I more sexually aroused after I'm done with working out?
Oh, there's all kinds of reasons for that. From blood flow to depending upon a man or a woman, there can be friction, we'll call it. There's the general feeling of the hormones. You get your hormones moving, you feel the endorphins, so you feel good. If you've got endorphins running through you, you're feeling good. Why wouldn't you be a little aroused?
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense to me, just from the human nature, right? And you fit, you're fit, you're feeling good,
Of course.
seems pretty reasonable to me. Though,
So go home, take a shower, and jump in bed. There you go.
or not.
Or not.
Just deal with it, right? It'll pass like all things. You know, there's nothing necessarily to deal with, right? It's just kind of is. So
Okay.
you don't necessarily have to deal with anything. It's just it's reasonable. It's not an unreasonable thing. So it's well within the range of normal human behaviors type thing. Yeah. So deal with it or not, like everything else in life. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
I am starting to develop some weird kinks, and now I am desperate to try them out. Okay, it doesn't really matter, does it, what they are? I mean, it could be just generic.
Well, no, it's because the generic answer to this is as long as everybody involved is consensual, then you're pretty much good to go. My general suggestion to any of these things is fantasy is always better in the head than in reality.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, reality does not always, it rarely meets up with reality. So sometimes these things are better left in the fantasy land of your head where the rules of reality don't interfere. But as long as everybody's safe and you're not lying to anybody, everybody knows what they want, what they're looking for. You're an adult. You're free to explore these things. And there's something out there for everybody. And thankfully, you'll find someone who's interested in the exact opposite that you are, and you can get together and and try these things out. Not necessarily an easy task, depending upon the what's the word I'm looking for? The propensity of the not all kinks are represented equally.
Okay, that's true.
So some are harder to find partners than other. But if you're that interested, you'll figure it out. The world's a connected place these days. It's easier than ever. So there's never been a better time to have a very unique kink because you can find something.
If you can find something on the internet.
Yeah, you may have to travel halfway around the country or the world to do it, but hey, if it's that important to you, hey, people have done more for less.
Let's check out Elon Musk.
So, all right, we're out of here. How we end up on that on Thanksgiving show, I'm not entirely sure, but it's what happened. We want to thank you for being with us. You can find us at latenightLove.us. You can send letters to us to love@latenightLove.us. And from me and Lubby, we will see you next week. Have a good night. And please remember to love everybody.
Good night.